Hello, my name is Andrew Clausen. I'm a student of the University of California at San Diego Extension's Translation and Interpretation Certificate program. I'm going to be talking a little bit today about my favorite job, which was a wildfire lookout in the Gila National Forest in New Mexico. During the summers of 2011 and 2012, I performed this job from about May to August each summer, and it was the best job by far that I've ever had. Basically, what a wildfire lookout does is search for wildfires. The U.S. and the U.S. West especially has huge areas, millions of acres of forest that is very hard to see into and is very prone to wildfires because of the droughts that are common in the West. My job entailed living in a 15 by 15 square foot cabin perched on top of a 60-foot tower, rotating between two different peaks, between Lookout Mountain and Black Mountain, as I said, in the Gila National Forest. I would go up for 4 days to Lookout Mountain and stay there, and then go back home for 2 days, and then hike 5 miles up to Black Mountain and stay there for 6 days, and then hike down and go home for 2 days. And that would be my shift. Basically, a wildfire lookout searches, as I said, for wildfires. The Gila National Forest is hundreds of thousands of square acres of uninhabited forest that, because of the droughts in the high desert area, is very prone to wildfires. And so any lightning storms that come through, or any cigarette butts thrown out by campers, or any unprotected fires at campsites can easily turn into millions of square acre forest fires, which demand a lot of manpower and can be very dangerous to populations. So as a lookout, I would stay up in this cabin, this elevated cabin, and I would scan the area about every 15 minutes with binoculars and look for smokes. A smoke is when you can see a white plume of smoke filtering up between the trees. And it hasn't turned into a fire yet where you can see flames, but you can see the smokes. And so once you see a smoke, you take what is called an Osborne fire finder, which has 360 degrees, and you point it at the smoke and get what is called an azimuth, which means if this is north, then this would be northwest, and so you'd say so many degrees this northwest. And that is something that you can use to tell other lookouts on other mountains, I think I see something along this azimuth, and then they can look in that same direction and see if they can point it out. And then if you give your azimuth and they give their azimuth, you can triangulate the position of the fire. If not, we had access to a huge amount of maps, blown up maps, and the idea would be to try and locate the most precise location of the fire, of the smoke, and then call it in to the central dispatch, who would then send in wildfire firefighters, either on foot or sometimes even via airplane, and they would parachute in. So that was the bulk of the responsibility. My first summer, I spotted 13 smokes. In my second summer, I spotted 2 smokes. This was my favorite job because I loved the solitude of it. Often I would not see anybody during the time that I was up there. And I also had ample time to read books and play guitar, which are 2 of my passions. It also helped make going back home and spending time with my family that much more valuable, because as I wouldn't see them and only be in radio contact with people miles and miles away, it really fostered my need for human contact, and that was a really rich time for my family. I also had a series of interesting sightings during those 2 summers. I saw numerous bears, and I saw numerous herds of elk and wild turkeys that are native to the area. I also remember one time hiking out of Black Mountain, hiking down to a watering hole about a mile down the mountain, and as I was there, I saw a shape on the other side, and it turned out it was a brown bear who had come to drink water at around dusk. And as I was watching the brown bear, on another side of the watering hole, a wolf showed up, and that was pretty amazing to see, but it was also, needless to say, pretty scary for me, so I hightailed it out of there and went back to the safety of my lookout cabin up on the mountain. Another thing that I got to experience, which I had never heard of before and not sure how frequent or common it is, was a moon rainbow. During a storm one night, the clouds parted and it was a full moon, and it shone down through the rain, and I was able to see a white rainbow, which is something that I'd never seen before. I also really enjoyed the camaraderie between lookouts, as we would get to know each other talking over the radio, and also with the firefighters down at the base camp. Learning how to talk to each other and how to communicate in potentially dangerous situations was very meaningful for me and very fun. As I said, I got to read a lot, I got to play guitar a lot, and I got to enjoy nature a lot. And that's why being a wildfire lookout was my favorite job ever. Thank you.